still finishing my dinner, so it is what it is. Just finishing my dinner. We're gonna wait for a few more people to get in here, and we're gonna get started. I'm not rapping, bro. If you want me to rap, just go check out one of my songs. I'm gonna wait for a few more people to get in, then I'll get started. Saluda a mi gente de Chile, que siempre apoyan la música buena. Estoy aquí comiendo unos taquitos. We get started in about 2 minutes. Make sure you eat your greens. All right, let's get started. This is class number 2. I'm not gonna call it episode 2 because I don't really consider myself a vlogger. Last time we were here, we were talking about becoming an artist. This is a class more or less mostly about music and investing. So if you want to learn how to become an artist, those are things that I can help you with. Things that I can teach you about. In about a half hour, about 25 minutes, I'm going to invite somebody named Young King. He's an artist from Boston. He's going to explain a little bit about how it is being an artist. Next week, we're going to have some people who make beats, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. So, a few things I want to review about last time, because this is a class. I'm not considering this, just you guys checking me out as a vlog. We talked about what you need in order to become an artist. All right? You need to get some equipment that can record you. You need a microphone. You need a software that will record your vocals, and you need beats. So you can buy a computer. I suggest that you get Macs. I suggest that you get Pro Tools. You can get whatever DAW that you want. DAW is a software that you use to create music. So remember that you have to essentially either start with your lyrics or start with the beat. So I'm reviewing last time what we talked about. What you want to kind of think about is your image. That's something I talked about last time as well. Your image, you want to essentially have like your persona. Now, a lot of people can be out there and kind of be themselves, which is great, but you gotta have like a persona, something that people are gonna like, kind of like a character in a movie or something like that. If you're authentic and you're real and that's who you are, that's great. In order to curb attention, which is important for you to be an artist, you should probably think about a persona. Me, as an artist / executive producer, I think about, and by the way, XXD Moneybags XX is on here. He's a beat maker, producer, one of the hottest ones in Boston, so make sure you cop some beats from him. I might probably have him up on here sometime next week or the week after that. So we could talk about the beats and all that. By the way, I got these t-shirts. They're not for sale. I'm giving them out. So if you want one, let me know. As a matter of fact, let me flip this around for y'all so y'all can see it a little better. Make sure that's good. Hopefully y'all could see me there. Anyways, at around 7:30, like I said, we're gonna talk about the music process a little bit better. So one thing you want to make sure that you're doing when you're doing music is that you practice. Make sure that you, before you even get to the studio, that you know how to rap, that you know how to stay on beat. All those things are extremely important. And you want to make sure that you mix and master your tracks. It's something I talked about last time. Mixing and mastering your track requires you to work with a musical engineer so that that person can edit out your vocals, or what we call mixing the vocals in and out. All right? Make sure that you know the process of recording, which is, most people, you can start out with recording your chorus. And then your chorus might be stacked. And what stacked means is basically you record your chorus over and over again, probably like three times in the exact same way. So when you stack your vocals in the chorus, it's similar to like when you stack books. It looks like when you record it, you'll see that one track is on top of the other one, so that's why it's called stacked. So your vocals on there, you might do the chorus just 5 times in one slot. And what I mean by slot, it's in one place. And then if you have a good engineer, he'll group those together, which means he'll kind of like keep those recordings together, and then he'll copy and paste those into another section of the song. So depending however your song is, like if there's a strong structure that you want to use, then it might go, let's say you have 3 choruses in your song. You only have to record that chorus 1 time, really, or 5 times in one slot, and then you move it over to the other 2 slots. You don't have to do it 15 times. You could if you wanted to, but it could be like a waste of time. So, given that, you want to think about your verses. And like I said last time, you want to make sure that you fall on the snare for most rappers. If you're a singer, it's a little bit different. You don't have to fall on the snare. You might want to just kind of sing over the snare, and that might be something that you do, and you still got to make sure that it kind of flows right. So flow is kind of like some people don't really know what we mean by flow, right? Flow kind of means that you ride like the rhythm, or you ride like the melody when you're talking, so it kind of fits in the song in a synchronous way, rather than it being completely offbeat, where you might hear somebody singing and it's like they're hearing the beat somewhere else. I was studio coaching somebody who did not get that concept. They kept singing offbeat and no matter what we tried, he couldn't get on. He needed a lot of practice. So he had to go home, practice over and over again, and then eventually you get it. Now, this one person that I worked with was a little tone deaf too, and with tone deaf is something really hard to deal with when you're trying to engineer somebody. When I say engineer, I mean like pretty much record somebody. Especially when you're working with someone who's like new to music or new to recording music, they might not know the type of changes, the type of sound that they want. They don't really have the language to tell you how they want things to sound. So you want to kind of learn the language of music. So some of the things that you need to know are like, let's talk about like from the standpoint of Pro Tools, right? Pro Tools, you have to learn how to import the track. The track might be your beat. So when you import that track, you'll have a line. That's the whole beat. And then from there, you want to add another track, and that track might be for your vocals. Now, depending what type of person you are, whether you're a producer, engineer, or just an artist, some producers have their whole beat loaded on to Pro Tools, and each line is like a different part of the beat. It might be just the snare drum, it might be the hi-hats, it might be just the kick, it might be the bass. All that might be on a separate track, or it looks like what is a line, and all those things have to be mixed. So the levels have to be mixed. So, for example, you can't have something higher in volume than something else. You kind of unless it's supposed to be that way. So you have to. That's where your mixing engineer comes in and kind of levels it out a little bit so that it sounds decent. But yeah, I'm gonna flip around a little bit. I just wanted to show y'all the shirt. Nah, the chains are not for sale. So enough about that. Oh, let me flip this around. It's kind of weird not being able to talk, not even to see myself when I'm talking to people. Anyways, so back to what I was talking about. Becoming an artist is something you gotta think about. It's a lot of hard work. It's not easy, and you definitely need cash. And I was saying that before. Oh man, I get that all the time. French Montana, everywhere. When I go to the club, people always tell me I look like French Montana. Thank you for the compliment. I appreciate that. But yeah, think about what kind of music you want to make, and really focus on your craft. You really got to get better every single time. Sometimes you don't do well the first time you go to the studio, and you gotta kind of leave it the way it is. Like what you might do is called demoing a track. So that's language in music where you demo a track. I spoke a little bit about that last time. This is kind of like review, especially because each week this class is only gonna focus on one topic. So for the people who weren't here last Tuesday, this is a little bit of a review. And if you want a little bit more of what I said last time, just go back to my IGTV and you'll see it. So you might demo a track, which means it's not official. You might mumble across the whole verse, and that means nothing. But later you might go back and then actually add words to that. Somebody who I think, there's a similar process to when people make beats. So me as an executive producer, I might have like a melody in my head, and I might then shoot that melody or send that melody to my producer or my beat maker, and he'll create something to it. He might add synths to it, or he might add something that really sounds like the melody that I came up with. So if you check out Dr. Dre's masterclass, you'll see that he kind of creates beats in a similar way. Sorry about that. Anyways, if you want to like create a beat, for example, me as an executive producer, I might just be like, yo, I want some reggaeton, and I might just beatbox. So I might go like, and if I like that, I might literally record that and send it to my my producers, and have them like make it into a beat. Or I might come up with a melody, like I might be like, so I might send him that. So then we got that sound, and then we got the beat in the background. So then from there we're going, and you have, and then so that might be on top of that. So then you have like the beginning of a beat, and then you might think about like, well, the bass line, and then boom, 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 boom. So then we're talking about a couple different things. We're talking about the drum, which is like, And then this might be a sample where I'm like, and then we got the bass. So these are things that might fit into a song. There might be some other things in there. And some beats have a lot of things in them, and other beats have like not a lot of things in them. So sometimes the simpler the beat, the better the beat. Like somebody who keeps their beat simple but are really dope, Mustard, formerly DJ Mustard. And somebody who kind of gets complicated beats that are pretty crazy and dope. You might want to think about like some of Jay-Z's producers. Kanye West is kind of complex with his stuff. There's a couple of people that I really like complex with their stuff, but essentially, you might want to think about those things when you create like a beat or you want a certain sound. I mentioned before that you might want to have like a reference track. So it's important to kind of like maybe reference a sound somewhere from another song. So if you like something from Lil Jon, something from Usher, you know, you might send those references to your producer and say, yo, I really like these two sounds. Like I really like the bells in there. I like the guitar in this. And then from there, you send it off to a producer and he'll make it. So I can show you a beat that I made in a few minutes. And when I say I made it, I mean I basically came up with the concept of it, and then I went to a beat maker and I got it created with a beat maker. Like I could have done it myself, but I kind of respect the craft of like the instrument, of the person who could play the instrument better than I can, or the keyboard better than I can. So I could come up with a melody and just press the key in terms of melody, but in terms of like quantizing the beat and all that, I really don't do that. And quantizing is when you have to like really take your snare and make sure it falls on a count, or take whatever instrument and make sure it falls on an even count, because when you do live music, us as humans, we're a little imperfect. So when we play the note, we might be off by, who knows, like a second or even less than a second, but it doesn't fall perfectly. That's why when you hear music live, some people say it sounds better, or they say it sounds completely different. But you got to think about all of those aspects when you're creating music, right? So again, like, it's a process that's not necessarily easy. By the way, I got the new Black Lives Matter bracelet. If you want to get that, holla at me. Let me know. I'll meet up with you and I'll hook you up. So yeah, man. I'm in my home studio right now. I usually record. I record here and I send my vocals out, but sometimes I record at the Bridge Sound and Stage, which is in Cambridge in Boston, because I do think that the main engineer archetype is one of the best producers in Boston. So shout out to my people in Turkey, Turkish rap. I see you. But yeah, man, if you don't know, we got a song that's out, 500,000 views right now, featuring Fat Man Scoop. It's called the Omar Remix. Check that out. I got a new project out. It's a Spanish language project called Iter. I collaborated with the world famous Wise the Gold Pen in Miami. Spent a week down there to record. So interesting, I'll talk about that a little bit. So what's interesting about that is that so I usually write all of my songs, but when I collaborated on this project in particular, he wrote the songs. And the funny thing about it is that he actually doesn't write it physically. So what he'll do is he'll listen to the beat over and over again, and then he'll kind of do what I was saying earlier. He'll mumble through the songs, right? And he'll mumble through the songs until eventually some words come to him, and then he'll kind of replace that mumble with words, because you kind of get the feel for the beat first. So once you get the feel for the beat, you kind of lay down whatever the mumble is, and then you remove the mumble and lay down real vocals to it. Like, that works well in particular for songs that are like sing-songy. When you're rapping, you don't necessarily need that. If you rap, you might just want to write your rhymes first, or play the beat over and over again, loop the beat over and over again, so that you can actually know what you're doing when you're rapping. Because if you sound off beat, like, you're gonna sound ridiculous. Anyways, so in a few minutes, we're gonna have Young Kane on here, and he's gonna talk to us a little bit about himself as an artist, becoming an artist and all that. One thing that I want to tell you is that be ready and be prepared to be judged. So if this is if you're shy, if you get scared, if you have stage fright, if you have all those things, and you really gotta work on those things before, like, or even during the time you're an artist. If you ever know about Missy Elliott, you can find out that she's actually like very shy when she records. She has to have like the studio completely pitch black, or actually like a curtain where nobody's watching her while she's recording. There's plenty of times that, like, from what I understand, that Timberland hasn't heard her, hasn't seen her, like, record. I remember you can collaborate with somebody and never even meet that person with today's game. For example, like, I collaborated with Fat Man Scoop. I've seen him in person, but we haven't kicked it. We haven't hung out. Through DJ Edition, I sent him my music, and I was able to get a feature from Fat Man Scoop on that song. Now, Presidential Groans verse on that song in particular, he was in the studio with me when we recorded that song. So yeah, becoming an artist involves a lot of those things. Now, there's a misconception in music where people think that music can, like, magically blow up or go viral, and yeah, you can go viral, but it's very rare that you can go viral. Even when you go viral, some people kind of like make sure that they promote their music first. Every artist has to promote their music, and if you don't promote your music, it's not gonna go anywhere. And when I say it's not gonna go anywhere, I mean, like, your views are not gonna work. People are not gonna know who it is. And when I say promote, like, you gotta think about having a DJ spin your music, paying for ads on a radio station, paying for ads on any digital platform nowadays, so that people can check out your music. Because your reach is only so big. If you have 100 people on your Facebook, and you post your song on your Facebook, maybe 100 people will check that out, but you might have like 200 views if everybody looks at it twice, but that's it. It's not gonna go nowhere after that. It's not gonna, even if the same thing for Twitter or whatever other program that you have. So you gotta think about promoting it. And the problem, this whole concept of like a starving artist, it's a reality for a lot of people who are very talented, and some of the best musicians are not even known because they don't have the money for it. So I just got another subscriber, so I appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, pop my drink. Think about what you want to do and just dive into it. I think that you'll learn as you go. You'll realize that creating a song takes a long time. It might take you 4 hours to create a song. It might take you less time, but it just takes time to edit vocals. It takes time first just to wrap your vocals all into the computer. Then I have somebody like mix. Some people mix as they go, which means like somebody will be literally editing your stuff while you're rapping. So If the engineer is good enough, he'll mix your vocals while you're rapping. And some engineers already have all their plugins set up, and I'll explain what plugins are and all that stuff later. It's basically like you have certain effects that you need on your vocals. Some people have that automatically on there. So yeah, definitely in this day and age, you need to make sure that if you want to become an artist, you need to be everywhere. And one person you should check out is Kid Boo. Kid Boo has been able to do his thing on the internet, I believe, without a label. He's been everywhere. Like if you check out his Instagram, you check out his Facebook, his Twitter, his YouTube, he has his stuff everywhere, and he can do it all by himself because it's like the same thing that people used to do back in the day when they put up a poster. When people drove by it, they would know that that artist's music is out. All right, so he called it like the spider. So basically, when an artist wants to be known, you have to be on every single platform, and that's kind of difficult to maintain by yourself. You might need a team. You might need to hire a marketing consultant. So, you know, and then some people, you might want to consider only putting your music on one platform, which is fine, but you have to understand that you're only limited to that platform. Like SoundCloud. Some people only put their music on SoundCloud, and that's great, but what about all the people who watch YouTube? You're missing on all the people who watch YouTube. If people do both, then that's great, but you gotta think about the number one place where people consume music is YouTube. Then there's Pandora. Then there's all types of stuff. There's Spotify. You know, Spotify is more popular probably than Pandora. And there's all types of digital platforms like Tidal. If you decide to distribute music on your own, then you could look at a distributor like Kick Distro, CD Baby, and TuneCore. So you can get all that. You can get all of your music distributed through all of those digital platforms. Excuse me. So you gotta you gotta think about all of those things, because your music can be on all the platforms, but doesn't mean that it's getting regular spins. If your music is not promoted, nobody's gonna hear it. That's just the reality of the facts. Or a limited amount of people will hear it. Now, what's interesting is that there are artists who don't have a huge following but are always performing. And the reason why is they have booking agents that kind of do some of that work for them. So you might want to get a booking agent, because then they can speak to venues and they can kind of work with promoters to promote your music, and that way you can kind of get on to performing. So yeah, so let's talk a little bit about how to get money. Right, there's a part of this that I haven't really spoken about, and that's the investing part of it. And investing in music is a very risky thing to do, because the sale of music doesn't make money as it used to back in the day. Back in the day, if you recorded an album and you sold it, if you were signed to a record label, you would get like a portion of that sale. The record label will make the most of the money off of that. You're lucky if you get like $1 for every sale. Let's say a CD costs $10. Record label might be keeping $9. So like that's the type of thing that we're talking about. In terms of putting your money up, to do your own stuff, you might want to consider that. But everyone wants to be signed because you're working with a bigger budget, you're working with an established industry, where the gatekeepers are there. What I mean by gatekeepers is like, there are the people who are in charge of booking concerts. There are the people who have access to all the radio stations. There are people who have all of that. The radio stations are the gatekeepers to those things. So if you're signed to the record label is a gatekeeper to all that stuff. So if you're signed to a label, you have access to all that stuff. But the way to make money off of music is essentially through merchandising or selling a product. Music has to sell a physical product, or a digital product if you're good with stuff like that. And in my case, the most money I've made, I'm not gonna tell you exactly, but you make more money off of performing, and you make some money off of merchandise as well. But in terms of like actual like streams or views, if anything, you make no money off of that, or very little. And when I say very little, I mean like you make a few cents every time, or fractions of a cent when you're streaming your music. So you know, there is a point where you might make a lot of money in the long term. And if you're gonna do music, you have to be in it for the long term. You can't just be in it for a few months and then think you'll blow up. And then you have to continue making music, because it just can't stop. You won't see any successes in that. You have to sell a physical product when you do music. So that product might be it might be like a ticket to your show, right? So you might want to negotiate how much money you'll make at the door at a venue. So you might have to talk to the promoters, you might have to talk to the owner, or your team. Someone on your team might have to talk to that owner of the venue or the manager or something like that to work out a deal. Now, if you have your own following, that means you have a bunch of people who follow you. Physically, like you throw on a show and everybody's gonna go to your show, you have more power. So I remember negotiating prices with a venue and talking about how we could make the show like really good. So I had a lineup of me and like 3 or 4 other artists who were on this kind of like agenda for the night. And I had to work it out with the owner of the venue to talk about how much we're gonna sell the tickets for and what would be the split. So, you know, I essentially split the cost of the ticket with the venue. So we sold tickets for about $40. So $20 would go towards me at the end of the night per person who showed up to the venue. $20 would go to the person who owns the spot. So you have to really become like a business person if you're gonna be in the music business. I think a lot of people forget, like, this is a business. Music is fun, but at the end of the day, if you need to make a living off this, then you need to become a business person, period. And if you're not a business person, then you're going to be someone who creates and somebody else is going to make money off of you. So you need to think about that, right? So think about, you know, how you become a business person. And if you're not a business person, then get somebody on your team who is a business person, and you need to pay that person 5 to 10%, no higher than 15% of like the money that you're making off the venue. So if you do hire, in my opinion, if you do higher than 50%, if you do 20%, that's just, you're giving them too much of your potential money. So you want to really think about pricing, think about what you're gonna get paid. you can make starting off, if you make $150 to $300 a show, that is pretty good. Once you start getting your name out there and doing more things, you negotiate a little bit more. You might get $500 to $800 a show, and then you realize that you can start making $1,000 off a show. You keep working and you make a little over $1,000, and then if you have merchandise, you can make $1,500 to $2,000. So you'll realize that there's ways of making money, but you gotta really do your research on who is supporting you, who's your team, who can help you really make that money in the music business. So shout out to my man Blaze. He's a business person, but you have to be very diverse. If you're gonna become a musician, you gotta also be a business person. That's why I named this class like teaches music and investing, because if you don't invest, this music shit is not gonna go nowhere pretty much. So everybody thinks that people who make music are rich. Some of them are, but you'll actually find out that many are not. So let me break it down for you. Some artists who are signed, they might be signed into a 360 deal, and I'll get into more details about this later on. But essentially, you have to know what those things mean. If you sign to a 360 deal, that means that you start here, right? Whatever money you get, they'll give to you. You have to pay back, and all that, you'll end up back at zero. That is a 360 deal. You will gain money and lose money at the same time, and you'll be back where you started. This is how that kind of works. A 360 deal, let's say you're a popping artist and you made it really, really hot. You got a lot of streams, and then you get signed. They might tell you like, oh yeah, we're gonna sign you for a few $1 million, right? Let's say they sign you for $5 million or something like that. They might say, yeah, we're gonna give you $1 million advance. The word advance is a loan. If you take that $1 million and you buy your outfit, you buy your studio time, you buy a couple gold chains, you buy your outfits, you buy your beats, you shoot your videos, you do all that stuff with it. That's what the money's for. You kind of feel like it's your money, but it's not. All that is being tracked, and all that has to be recuperated, and the label has to recuperate that money. So you have to make sure that you pay that back. The label's gonna make that money off of taking a percentage of your tour money, which means like whenever you perform, you get paid a certain amount of money. The label's gonna take some of that money so that they can recuperate all the sales that you make off your streams or your views or your physical merchandise. The label's gonna take that money because they need to recoup. Once they recoup all that money, they'll continue selling your stuff so that they can make a profit. So that's kind of like, how the label more or less works. Excuse me. Then the good thing about you is that you'll be performing, your music's gonna be out there and all that. But the smart musician is also a business person. You might have investments in other places, or you can use that fame to like strike other deals. And you have to make sure that if you're signed to a label, that they're not taking that part, taking a percentage or a part of what you're doing. So you got to make sure that you signed you looked at the contract and that you didn't sign your life away. Because if they say that while you're signed to them, any business deal that you make with them, they get like 5% or whatever percent, then you're always gonna have to break bread with your label. They kind of own you in a sense. So it is a lot of rappers' dreams to sign to a label, but that's because many of them don't start out with money. So make sure that you actually have money or invest in things as you go along. Me in particular, I invest in real estate, and I never stopped teaching. So that's one of the reasons why I was able to kind of produce music at a high quality, because I've had the money to do it. I used to record, some rugged tracks with my own equipment and stuff like that until I decided to go to work with award-winning producers. And I thought it was really important for me to work with producers who were well known in Boston, and even out of state. So that's why I wanted to take. You have to invest your own money into this. So let me put things into perspective. Like, people want to know how much things cost. It really depends on who you're working with. If you're working with a really famous producer, a beat can cost you a lot of money. A beat can cost you anywhere from $100 to $100,000. It really ranges on how famous the person is, how much they put into the game, and then you can purchase beats for $5,000. Depending, it all depends on who it comes from and the quality of the beat. Now, that being said, you have to make sure that you don't get played, because there's a lot of people out there who kind of use their fame to take advantage of people. So, and remember, like, a lot of people might get starstruck when they work with somebody, sell you a dream, and next thing you know, you're spending your life savings on it. There's tragic stories about people investing their life savings on their dream because they're thinking they're gonna blow up and all that. And I'm here to show you the reality of that. Like, some people get really jerked in this music industry, and you have to be careful, because if you don't have the right people around you, or if you're not smart enough to realize who's a real producer, who's a beat maker, who's a songwriter, if these people are promising they can do things for you, you have to do business the right way. Some people are well established. You go to their studio, it's straightforward. You pay your studio time, you pay for your production, and then you leave. Everything is yours. You don't have to sign anything. It's up to you to make sure that you copyright your music, that you publish your music, and make sure you have a publisher. And those are things that I'll get into details more later on. But you gotta be smart about these things. If you don't do these things, you'll find yourself like screwed to a certain extent. So I'll give you an example. There's a reggaeton artist by the name of Don Omar. He had a very famous song called Dale Don Dale. To this day, he doesn't own that song. And it was very famous, but the person who really reaped the benefits of that was the producer. It was his beat. He owned the rights to the song. You need to really think about owning the rights to your song, or not. If that's something you don't want to do, you don't have to do it. If you make money elsewhere and you want to use just the fame to make deals, then that's something you might want to do. But you need to really think about music. Music is like even though it's like some of it's intangible and you can't touch it, there are masters, which is like, it's like a physical disc that you can touch or something. That is the rights of your music. It is a piece of paper. It is like having a title to your car. That's the best way I could explain it. If you own the masters to your music, which is kind of like a title, then you have rights over how much money you can make, or you have the rights to make that money, because legally you own it. So that's like the legal part of music. See, a lot of people don't really know that. Like, if you think about a song, there's so many parts to it. There's like there's splits, there's song splits, there's people who own part of a song. There's producers who charge you for production, and then they want to own part of that production. So when I first learned about that, because I read my contracts, I was just like, no. In my mind, it was a no-brainer. Like, why would I give away any rights of my product just when I bought it off of you? So why do you keep a percentage later when I start making money off of it? You know, for them it's a good deal, and even for me it's a good deal. Like, I own some music, and I'm not the artist on it. Well, That's just the agreement that me and the artist have. They don't really care for it. You don't make that much money off the streams, and that's fine. So, you know, if the music blows up, I'll make some cash. And that's kind of like the idea. You kind of throw some things out there to see if it's gonna do well or not. So, you know, it's the music business. Now, you should read up on the music business. If you don't read a lot, then you should get an audio tape. You should get you should get Audible, and you should kind of listen to some of these things, because you can find yourself dishing out a lot of money and not making money back. So, let's talk real figures, right? If you do a song, or you do songs with major producers who have hits, who have sold millions, whatever, they might charge you $10,000, $30,000 for a beat or a song, and they have every right to charge that much, because that song could potentially be a hit, and then you're making $10,000 a show, or you're making $20,000 a show, or $30,000, or $50,000, $100,000, whatever have you. So when they charge you $10,000 for a beat, it's because they've worked with artists where those artists can go off and they can make that much money. So you really have to think about like spending that much money. If you're gonna spend that much money, I strongly suggest that you probably get a feature who is gonna kind of like hold weight in the game, and unless your song is really good on its own and you're working with a famous producer who's backing you and he's gonna put his name all over the beat, and that song goes somewhere. But if you don't do that, you're gonna find yourself with no money. So I suggest you kind of build up your own. You build up your own fans, your own crowd first, so at least you can go back and do shows for them, make money off of them. So let's look at it. Look at a couple things this way. If you want to make money off music, you have to sell a physical product. That can be a CD, a ticket, a T-shirt, a bracelet, USB flash drive, anything. That it has to sell a product, because streaming is not going to make you any money. It'll make you cents, literally cents. So figure out how you want to do that. Once you get that, if you get enough money to invest in something else, it could be real estate, it could be a store, it could be juices, whatever. It's just, you have to create a business, right? Even if you want to be like some sort of consultant for something, you can use the fame that you get from music to do all of that. You need to have multiple revenues, multiple areas where you get money, or else you're gonna find yourself very broke. Just to put things in perspective, when you want to make money off of music, you might want to get a booking agent. I said that earlier. That person can negotiate for you or negotiate with you when they talk to venues, right? So I performed various times at Electric Haze. I performed, that's in Worcester. I performed at clubs all over Boston. I've been all over Europe, and it takes work, especially if you're doing it by yourself. You have to sit down with the venue person, work out a price that's comfortable for the patrons, for the people who come to that venue, and then think about splits. You kind of have to give something up in order for you to get up on that stage. I've done a lot of free shows, festivals, and stuff like that, which I didn't get paid for. But then I continued to do shows where I did get paid for it. And it takes a lot of you're gonna get rejected a lot. And if you can't take rejection, then don't do this. So, I've gone to places where they told me I could perform, and then or I could perform a few songs, and next thing you know, when I get there, I can only perform one song or something like that. Some stupid shit like that. So you're gonna find out people might not respect how well you're doing, or they might not know you at all. And one of the things that kind of bothers me a lot is when I used to be called local artist. And the reason why that kind of pissed me off is because I've already been in many countries and in Europe doing my thing. So for you to call me a local artist was kind of offensive, because I'm definitely not. But you know, you kind of have to get over that and keep going and just say, like, you know, forget that. I just gotta go to the next person. He thinks I'm this or I'm that, or he's not giving me a chance. So, or she's not giving me a chance. Move on to the next thing. And the people are gonna slam doors in your face. They're gonna tell you you suck. Or they might tell you like, we're not ready for you. I've had people cancel shows on me. I literally have been out the door with my equipment, going to the show, and I've called up the venue, telling them I'm on my way, and they're like, oh, they canceled it on me. So it's that type of shit where it's kind of like shady, where people in the beginning of your career might not want to deal with you, or they're taking a risk. And then you'll find those same people who are actually kind of once you have a movement going, you might find those same people calling you back. Or you might have some of those same people who view your stuff and they're like impressed. I should have booked them. But if you don't continue that momentum by yourself, you might not ever get booked. And bookings are hard, and you gotta kind of like sit back and create your own agenda for what you want to do. And you have to plot things out. Take a calendar and plot things out what you want to do. Think about all the venues that you want to hit. And then you have to like call up the venues and do your research and your work and go meet people, and you have to network, and you have to, you know, talk to promoters, and you have to work deals out, and you have to promote things. You have to cross promote. You might promote with another artist who has a following. You might take a few artists who don't have as big as a following as you do, and you might want to bring them with you because you can close at the end of the night. Those are things that I did to kind of get out there, and I would split the money with some of them. Some of them I didn't split the money with because, you know, it was more like an exposure thing for them. But if I have a DJ that I bring with me, then I'll split the money with the DJ. If I have the band that I brought with me, I definitely make sure my band members get paid because they're working. Like, these band members they're playing the drums, they're playing the piano, they're working all night. So if I gotta make sure that my band gets paid, and I try to make sure that my band gets paid, you know, that they're set at the end of the night. So let me explain a typical night, like performing. Like, I might arrive there early, do sound check. Sound check's extremely important. So sound check, you might want to go test the speakers and test your vocals, all your equipment and all that stuff. Have your DJ with you, check the equipment, and if the venue has like a house engineer, you want to talk directly to that house engineer, and you want to make sure that person knows how you're gonna play your music. Is it through your phone? Is it through your USB? Is it through a CD? They have to know what is up with that. Like, they have to know. If you got visuals for your stuff, when I performed at festivals, I had to make sure that my videos were playing in the background. Puerto Rican festival, Dominican festival, like you know, Lynn festival, all that stuff. Like, you have to make sure that, yo, like, when I'm performing, I want this. And another thing that people don't realize is that you need depending on what type of show that you're doing, you need a show producer, man. And that show producer might do fireworks for you. And that show producer might make sure that there's all this type of visual effects for your people to see. And yeah, it's a lot of work. Those are all things you gotta keep track of. And you might have to go to that venue and practice there over and over again and do these effects, because if you never practice them, there's gonna be mistakes. So being an artist is a lot of hard work. Everybody thinks it's great to have the fame and the glory, but yeah, it's work. Like, you go in there, do sound check. You might, if you're doing a big concert, you're on tour, you might perform. You might practice your performance 2 or 3 times to get it right before you go to that venue, or before you perform at that venue. You might be practicing at that venue the 2 nights before to make sure that everything in there sounds great for you. If you don't do that, the day you go to the show, and you might realize that they might not even set you up where you want to, and your mic sounds crappy, and then you got people laughing at you, and you're the joke and the laugh of the town. So you don't want that. You really got to think about so many different things, and if you don't have a team, you know, you can be the driving force for yourself. Shout out to the Bay Area. My man Hitmania Beats is on. He did a really dope track for me on Volume 2. Loue Musica Volume 2 called El Sol. And yeah, man. Yo, Hitmania, as a matter of fact, request me on here so I can go live with you for a little bit. So I could talk to you a little bit. If you can come on camera, talk to the people a little bit about what it is making beats, man. But yeah, I've been talking to people about booking venue, Hitmania out there, and the West Coast. Those are my peoples out there. Dope beats. They got a bunch of like beat mixtapes. Check out their stuff. So yeah, man, I went through a lot of things and I only got about 4 minutes left. So, you know, I talked about everything from mixing, mastering, kind of like cost of beats, working with producers who are famous, working with guys who are not famous, what it is to make money off of a physical product. Then you got to think about performing and making money off the performance, splitting the ticket, maybe 50-50. If you get a 50-50 deal, that's good. For my shows, it was about $40, $20 to the venue, $20 to me. I had enough money to pay for my band. I had enough money for me, and I had enough money for, you know, a couple people who performed with me. So like, think about it this way. If you do the math, you know, those of you who are good at math, if you have $40 a ticket and you have 100 people there, how much money are you making? All right, so there you go. You can split that. You can split that with your crew and everybody will be happy. You gotta give the venue what they want and then you can move on with your life. At that venue, you should have your CDs, you should have your promo material, you should have all your stuff so that when your fans leave there, they can get in contact with you. You want to make sure that they all sign in, that they all have that they all sign their emails, that they all, you know, if they take pictures, that they tag you, you take pictures with your fans, do all that, post it. If you're not doing that, you're gonna lose people. You gotta keep re-engaging those people over and over again. You gotta be consistent. So you might want to have people sign in. You get back to them later on, email them, whatever you might want to do. Email blasts to all of your fans and then give them exclusive stuff. So it's all a very intricate process. And you know, one thing that I did was work with a marketing consultant when I first got started, and he helped me a lot in kind of like understanding how to promote things the right way. And then if you can't pay for a marketing consultant because it's expensive, just try to do it on your own. Just make sure that the quality of the pictures are good. Make sure that that you're posting at the right times, because timing is everything. Make sure that you're hashtagging it the right way. Make sure that you're getting the maximum amount of people in there as possible. So, you know, this is what I consider a class, and I hope that you took a little bit of notes and that you learned a little something. And I'll put this on my IGTV. Alright, and hopefully our next guest will be on here next Tuesday. Alright. So that's enough from Loue Musica Teaches Music and Investing. Second class / episode. And I'll let you later. I'm out. Oh yeah, by the way, I got that new music coming out called Ether. Wise the Gold Pen presents Ether. So check it out. It's me and Evelyn. Evolution Vision.